What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright, guys, we're back at it and we are in the forest once again. And actually, this is part 2 of my Kill or Be Killed series. Part 1 featured my Crystal Magic Lioness build where I was medium rolling. Parts 2 and 3 will include this particular build. Right, and one thing that you guys are going to notice, we're going to start off with the video with me basically camping forest hunters, and I quickly changed that, right? Because one thing that I noticed is I don't know if it's me or if other people are experiencing the same thing, or maybe I was just playing at a time of the day that was just pretty slow. But I was really running into a lot of level 100 guys, right? And it just simply was not fun. This particular build is 125. And when I was playing, I'm just kind of like, okay, some of these matches, I'm really not feeling them. So perhaps it is a little better for me to go ahead, tighten up Sif, and then just play as a Dark Wraith. Because when you play as a Dark Wraith, in most cases, you'll be faced up in a lot of 2v1 situations. Right? So that's basically what you're going to see. Me starting off right here hosting, trying to have a little fun. But I think after the third or fourth video clip, you guys are going to notice that I will go pure Dark Wraith invasions in the forest, and that will continue from about the fourth or fifth clip in this video, and it will continue throughout part 2, which this is, and part 3. Pure Dark Wraith invasions. Alright, so what do we have here? We had an R1 spammer, and actually that's one of those ways where I hate to die. Right? I mean, you just have somebody with a one hand hit the R1 button like 30 times straight. I hate it. But I mean, you can't really blame them. It was basically my responsibility to go ahead and toggle switch to escape the stun lock. For whatever reason, maybe I was occupied, maybe I was in shock, perhaps I just didn't hit the finger pad fast enough, but whatever the reason is, I couldn't escape it. Right? So it is what it is. Alright, so we just went on ahead and tightened up that high-speed Dark Wraith, but I'd like to offer my gratitude for him because he got rid of the R1 spammer for me. Alright, so we have another invader, and let's see what this guy has going on. Is he a fat boy? Okay, looks like he's running at the speed of a medium rolling build. Okay, well that's not a problem. It looks like he's rocking me, and actually I think that's the same guy that got me last time. And if it's not the same guy, they definitely share similar tactics. Okay, so he's going to repeat the R1 spamming. Okay, I guess he hadn't learned his lesson. Okay, no problem. That's easy enough. Now, one thing that I will say about my short experiences with me hosting, I know they have this saying that you never, I think it's kind of like you never know what you have until it's gone or something like that. I would definitely agree with that with regard to forest hunter camping, right? And like I said before, I don't know if it was just the time of the day. I don't really know what it was, but it was just outright boring. I remember when I used to camp forest hunters in the past. I mean, it was like a total adrenaline rush, right? Because you had these guys running at you from all these angles, right? Most of the guys would be, somewhere around the 120 to 130 soul level range. But now that we have this new, soul level 100 meta, it's actually made PvP a lot more boring in my personal opinion. And the reason why I say that is because most of my builds are 125. Right? I have one build that is 100. And I know a lot of people may say, well, dude, I mean, if you want to make it more exciting, just go ahead and convert more builds to 100. But I don't want to do that. Right? Because in my personal opinion, 125 offers a lot more creativity. Because, I've heard a lot of these hotshot pros make the argument that, you can't have vitality builds. You can't have hybrid builds at 100. There's a lot of builds that you won't be able to create at that level. But see, me personally, I didn't mind the creativity. As a matter of fact, I embraced the creativity. At 120 to 125, right? And in those extreme cases, 130, you could get all types of builds, right? All types of builds. When you're doing level 100, I mean, I don't know. I really do not like it. I have one build out of about 12 that is a soul level 100. And the sole purpose for that one level 100 was to participate in the arenas when, we first got the DLC. But in my personal opinion, not too many people are all off into the arena. Now, granted, you may have some people who every now and then they want to have a stab at it. But for the most part, is it really all that exciting? No, it is not. And just like I said a while back in some of my beginning arena commentaries that I uploaded, the arena was something new. It was something exciting. And when it first came out, a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon because it was a change of pace. But like I said in those past videos, after a little time, people are just going to go back to a lot of the so-called designated dueling areas, right? May it be the Berg, may it be the forest, whatever the areas may be, a lot of people just end up reverting back to those areas. Now, I'm not saying that the arenas have been totally abandoned, but I'm just saying that, just like I said, a lot of people are going to jump on this whole 100 thing because of the arenas, but as time go on, I mean, it's just going to get old, right? It's just going to get old. And I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. I know some of the hotshots have their own opinions about, you don't have to worry about vitality gouges, and you don't have to worry about this, and you don't have to worry about that. I was never worried because, see, the way I look at it, being able to face against those builds at 120 to 130 will cause you to kind of adjust to a lot of different types of builds, right? You'll have to make adjustments. At 100, the primary concern in most cases is trying to create a build while at the same time having sufficient amount of vitality and endurance. And basically that's the focus in most of the cases, right? I mean, because think about it, even if you have the Ring of Favor and Protection, right, can you really create a good build with only, 30 vitality? I mean, maybe if you're one of these hot shots like Pep or Valk or something like that. But for a normal guy like me, 30 vitality, that stinks in my personal opinion. So, I don't know. I have one level 100 build, which is basically my medium rolling lion build, but that's it. I'm not going to be making that conversion over, transferring all my tunes from 100. From all my tunes from 120 to 130 all the way down to 100. I'm not feeling it. And that's one of the reasons why I really got bored in the forest, because a lot of the guys that I was fighting, I could tell that they were level 100. Right? Because in some cases, just 2 shots, they would die. And it just wasn't even fun. I'm like, holy camole. This is not even as competitive as, it used to be back before we had the more recent patch. Right? In addition to a lot of those DLC areas, specifically with the arena. So, it is what it is. I won't be jumping on this new 100 bandwagon. Like I said before, I have about 12 builds. One is a level 100 and the other 11 are somewhere between levels 120 to 130. Now, so let's talk about this build. This is basically my Hornet Thief build. Now, you might see me using the Hornet Ring in a couple occasions, but it's probably no more than about 3. Right? Mainly because I just wanted to demonstrate that you really don't need the Hornet Ring. You really don't. Now, I know a lot of people, they want to use it. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying that with given enough practice and getting comfortable with losing, you will eventually realize that you don't even necessarily need it. Now, will you need a few humanities handy? You sure will. Right? Will you need some grass handy? You sure will. But do you really need, hornet rings and all that other stuff? I mean, you don't. Now, for a lot of you guys like to say that I complain. I am not knocking the ones who do. And if you are kind of at the point to where you're not, able or comfortable enough to face two guys without a hornet ring, then more power to you. But I just think that in some of these cases is overkill. Now, what do I mean by in some of these cases? One thing, like I always say, a lot of things are conditional. I'm not an absolutist. Case in point, if it's one of you all by yourself, well, actually, even before I say that, like I said before, I'm not an absolutist. And I think a lot of things are conditional. So whereas in some cases, I may say, listen, dude, the hornet ring is really not necessary. Spamming your little magics and your pyros are not necessary to win. Whereas I might say that in some cases. And for a lot of you guys that complain so much in some of my forest hunting videos, those complaints, right, those statements that I made were all based upon the situation that I was in at the time. At the time that I was making those comments, it was me by myself, right? So they were conditional statements. The conditional statements coming from, coming basically out of the situation. It was me by myself. I was hosting there for probably a period of 3 or so hours. And most of the people that invaded me were repeated invaders. Right? So in other words, if you invade the same person 4 times, the person is by themselves, the person is not ganking, the person is obviously not using a hornet ring, and you see that on each occasion it is 2 of you, I mean, that's what I mean by, is it really necessary? Now, you may say to yourself, well, it doesn't really matter, I'm a forest hunter. And that's good for you, but I'm sharing my opinions. At the end of the day, even when I am forest hunting, right, if it is me by myself, and let's just say I'm going full hollow rage mode, right, and I'm using a hornet ring or something like that. If it's 2 of us, and I'm fighting against one brave hollow, right, one brave forest hunter ganker, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm taking that hornet ring off, right? Because, I don't know, it just feels kind of cheap to me. If you got one guy all by himself, no help, no hornet, no nothing, and then it's just me and another guy just backstab fishing him with hornet rings. No, that's ridiculous. So when I make my comments about certain things being unnecessary, keep in mind that it's all relative to the situation that I find myself in. Case in point, a lot of these clips will include me by myself against 2 people. Now, in some cases, I would say, okay, who cares if you use a hornet ring? I mean, you're fighting 2 guys who are chugging Estes. No big deal, right? In other cases, I would say, come on, dude, that's not even necessary. But I did most of these clips with no hornet ring, right? Even though it was me by myself, just to demonstrate that with a lot of practice and getting real comfortable with losing a lot, you can have some good victories, right? Now, it may cause for you to get a lot of practice in kind of separating your targets and trying to engage them one at a time. It may cause for you to, get a little more practice with pairing. It may cause for you to, it will cause a lot of things. Knowing when to dodge, ensuring that you're not draining your stamina too much. A whole bunch of things. But you definitely will be successful, right? Any guy that you've seen on YouTube that is forest hunter ganking, forest hunter camping, right? Or even playing the role as a forest hunter. And you may see them being successful against 2 or more guys. Best believe it took them a whole bunch of losing before they were able to get to that point. And even now, right? Because actually I do a whole bunch of either forest hunting or just dark wraith hunting here in the forest. And I lose a whole bunch of times, guys. I lose a whole bunch of times. And it has nothing to do with my so-called level of skill and how well I play. I mean, it just is what it is. Sometimes you get outnumbered and you can't help it. It doesn't matter how well you play. It doesn't matter how so-called skilled you are. When you have two guys with at least, I'll say, 1,700 vitality, think about it. It's you by yourself in an attempt to drain 3,400 in vitality. And that's just assuming that they don't heal. We're not even talking about the alcoholics, right? So whenever I see anyone in the forest by themselves, you get kudos from me. And this is why I really don't understand, and for a lot of these guys that watch my forest hunting videos and they complain so much about the statements that I make. Because I think to myself, like, dude, do you see the conditions that I'm under? And that's why I think a lot of these guys are just trolls, right? Because they make complaints, but they ignore all of the conditions. And when you ignore all the conditions, not only do you cheat the uploader or whoever you're criticizing, you also cheat yourself out a little bit of reality. Right? So that's enough about that. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and take it easy on this guy a little bit. Or not. Right? Or not. Because he was having fun going, 100 miles and running when it was him and his buddy. So now he just want to sit here and turtle. And see, this is what I mean, false confidence. Some of these guys only have strength in numbers, but they're basically not even comfortable when they're by themselves. Me personally, I have my confidence both when I'm by myself and also when I have backup, right? So there's no false confidence here. Now, I switch back and forth between two different builds. Right, and I think this is only going to be the second match that you see with this particular build. Because I really don't use it. It was a build that I use on my alternative account. And I mean, since I was forest hunting, I just figured that I would add the clips. But like I said before, parts 2 and 3 of the series will focus on my Hornet Thief. And that Hornet Thief basically won't be using the Hornet Ring. I think there's probably about 2 out of maybe 30 or 40 clips where I use the Hornet Ring. But other than that, I'm just going, pure melee. Not too many. Well, actually, I don't even have any castings on that Hornet Thief build. That's just pure S-Stock and Dark Silver Tracer. And the stats are not even all that amazing, right? I'm using the Dingy set, Dingy hood, Dingy chest plate, and the Dingy gloves with black iron leggings. That's nothing. As a matter of fact, I think my total defense was probably about 300 at most. So, it's not like I'm using an optimized build, Secondly, I'm using an S-Stock, right? This particular build only has like 13 strength, right? 13 strength, which is the medium. Well, actually, I can't even remember if it's 10 strength or 13 strength, but I know the strength is not even 16, it's relatively low. And I have 40 in dexterity. But that's it, guys. This build has the option to use the Darkwood Grain Ring, the Hornet Ring, the Fog Ring, and the Leo Ring, while at the same time maintaining 1,700 vitality. So basically the stats for this build is somewhere like 73 in vitality. And you guys can see for yourself that I am not using the Ring of Favor and Protection. And then I have the minimum amount of strength to be able to use, the S-Stock, the Balder Swag Sword. I don't go for anything heavy. So there's no Claymores on this build, no Halberds on this build, no Spears on this build. Basically, like I said before, this is a Hornet Thief build. So it was only designed for Dark Silver Tracer, the Standard Rapier, the S-Stock, and the Rickard's Rapier. Nothing heavy, right? Because me personally, if I am going to use a Hornet Ring, it's only going to be used on either a dagger or a rapier. And that's just me personally. Like I said before, I know everyone has their preferences. I know a lot of you Honor Brigade dudes like to say that I'm knocking other people. No, I'm not. I'm just stating that if I do use a Hornet ring, which, I mean, in some cases I do. I go hollow at times, which I'm pretty sure most people go hollow at times, especially if you not only PvP as often as I do, but that you have been PvPing as long as I have. You guys have to keep in mind that I've been playing this game since the release, right? And I do a lot of PvP for a lot of the guys who are my PSN friends. You guys would know that for the most part, Tuesday through Friday, I'm kind of on this thing all the time. And you know, I'm slowly going to slow down because I'm anxiously awaiting the release of Dark Souls 2. But in the meantime, I kind of enjoy doing these ganking situations, as you guys can probably see for yourself that I'm having a whole bunch of fun. Alright. And I got some help from the good old mage NPC. Good looking out to him. Have no respect for these gankers. And I love this build, right? Because, you know, I'm pretty sure if you guys are familiar with the channel, I do not use a lot of Darkwood Grain Ring. But this is the only build that I use for it. And actually, I don't even really use it a lot, right? Because like I said before, I have the option for the Darkwood Grain Ring, the Hornet Ring, the Leo Ring, while at the same time still maintaining 1700 Vitality. So in other words, when I'm not using a Darkwood Grain Ring, I may use the S-Stock with the Leo Ring. Or I may also use the Fog Ring. Because like I said before, this is my Hornet Thief. Thief meaning, in some cases, I'm using invisible, right? Well, not invisible, but I'm using the Fog Ring. So that's basically my options for this build. Get a nice parry on that spear. You guys who like to do that R1 spamming need to learn a lesson. Right? It may be effective against some people, but you always won't be able to just run up to somebody and spam that R1 button with your spear. Alright, so we get a nice hot shot parry right there for 787 damage. Not too much, but you know, I won't complain. Is a high speed S-Stock. Okay, so he kind of threw me off with the timing right there, so I need to back off. And since he's going to go ahead and take a swing, I'm going to go ahead and pop off with humanity myself. Unfortunately, I still got hit with that sunlight spear, and that was a failed parry attempt. And the thing is about it is, yes, I do know you can't parry, you know, attacks, but that's just me kind of predicting certain attacks that people are going to do. I actually thought he was just going to run up to me and, you know, kind of run up to me in R1, but he didn't. But, I mean, I got a partial, so I won't complain. Alright, GG to him. Well, actually, GG to them, right? He and his fallen ganker buddy. Alright, so let's see what we got. We have a scythe user. Go ahead, tighten him up with the unlocked BS. And actually, I'm getting a lot more comfortable with these unlocked moves. Now, it definitely takes a lot of practice, especially if you've been playing as long as I have by using the locking method. But, you know, once you kind of get a little bit experience and you learn to get a little comfortable with it, it's not really all that bad. Alright, so I got tightened up right there. And like I said before, you guys will definitely lose a lot, right? But the more you get practice fighting off these 2v1s, whether you're a Dark Wraith like me or a Forest Hunter, you will definitely get better. Your tactics will improve. Your reflexes will improve. And that has a lot of implications, not only for 2v1s, but also for 1v1s. Alright guys, so stand by for part 3 of the series. Martyrs Brigade is out.